This is the first time essentially running the boat by ourselves. Tons of fishing line, and we've also bent the anchor. It was a little bit worse than I originally thought. First voyage is almost 200 miles, and they're broken off as well. All lines clear? All right, we're underway. Big old girl moving around. So we finally got the anchor set. This is our first time out on the boat. This is our maiden voyage other than the sea trial. This is the first time essentially running the boat by ourselves. My first time operating a twin screw. So it's been an interesting day. So we had to get it out there by the 31st. So we came down a few days early to kind of sort out the boat. I did a little bit of maintenance on the engines, things like that. Just tried to get it, ready for us to do our trip from Key Largo up to Fort Pierce, where we're going to take it out, put it on the hard, and get it ready for the loop. So this first voyage is almost 200 miles. It's like 180-ish, if I remember right. Now, that's plotting it on Aqua Maps. Today we did about 40 miles. Took us about 7 hours, and we left this morning. The winds were 20 to 25 miles an hour with gusts at like 30, 35. There was small craft advisory. We left Pilot House, went down to Snake Creek, crossed there. So we went south, crossed at Snake Creek. And then once we got on that side, since it was more calm, we stopped at a marina. And that was the first time docking the boat. So that was, first time doing slow maneuvers. Keep in mind, I have owned, I think 5 other power boats, like fishing boats. Most of them are smaller, the biggest being like 19 and a half, most of them in that 17, 18. So nothing as big as this. This is 38 feet. But I have to say that just taking it easy and using neutral, and it actually maneuvers quite well. We got into the dock, and it was a little wild. I mean, you can't really make this up. The slip the fuel dock, and we also needed a pump out, and we needed water. So when we get over to the fuel dock, there's literally a sheriff's office boat in the very back of the dock, like turned. So I'm backing up. So if I back up too far, I'm going to back up into a sheriff's office center console, like a 20 footer or so. And then on the port side was, I don't know, a few $1 million yacht. I mean, it was crazy. And then on the starboard side was the dock. So it was a smaller spot. The wind was coming behind me. So anyways, it was kind of trying to blow me into that yacht. I just took it nice and slow. And once we got it tied up, there were some deckhands there. They were really nice. And we got tied up pretty uneventful. It was just slow. I did have to kind of reconfigure one time. I know that we didn't film it. I do apologize, but it was windy. It was the first time docking, and I was already pretty worried about that. That was like the main thing I was worried about is, getting that first time on the dock. And when I got there and all that stuff was there, I was like, oh great, this is even worse. But it worked out just fine. No problems. But I told the guy at the marina, I said, well, it was my first time docking a twin screw. And he's like, oh, well, you did pretty good considering how windy it was. He's like, all things considered, not bad at all. So took that as a little small win for myself. Honestly, getting on the dock and, with the line secured, I was like, all right, we got it. So we filled up about 100 gallons of diesel. So that was about $420 in diesel. When we went to fill our water, we have two 35-gallon tanks. We have 70 gallons total. And it seemed like it filled really fast. So Elise pulled the access up in the galley to look at the tanks. And yeah, no, they were still like less than halfway full, which is what they were when we came in. And this is going to take 4 or 5 days to get from Key Largo to Fort Pierce. So we need the water. And so anyways, come to find out, the vent tubes on the tanks were just clogged. So like the tanks themselves look swollen. So I knew they were pressurized. And we're just using, this is not a city connection or anything. We're just using the fill neck. So the tank shouldn't be pressurized or anything like that. So I ended up having to loosen one of the, basically take a part out to let air out on the tank itself, fill it up to that point until it overflowed, and then put that back on. So we got about 85% full water tanks. Good enough. But that was a little bit of a debacle. Other than that, filled up just fine. The holding tank pumped out perfectly. The boat ran great. We kept it pretty much around 1,500 to 1,800 RPMs the whole time, other than, the minimum wakes. We got to see, 5 or 6 dolphins, which was pretty cool. When we came through some of the channels. Over near Gilbert's, we seen quite a few dolphins there, which was pretty cool. This is our first sunset on the boat. You want to say hello? No? So first sundowner, I'm having a Crazy Lady. This is a honey blonde ale. Let's watch this little bit of a sunset. Life's good. Good morning. So here we are on day 2. I got the engines warming up, so sorry about the background noise. This is it's been great. The anchorage was nice and quiet. Nobody came by. It was just us out here, which was pretty nice. The anchor did not drag, which is awesome. So when I woke up this morning, we were at about 35 feet from where we originally were, but remember it also measures when we swing. So when it swings back around, it gets within like 3 to 5 feet. So the anchor didn't move, which is awesome. We did have the anchor alarm set, and then we did get up periodically throughout the night to check on it as well. Not only checking on the phone, but also verifying physically. Right over here is a little cut. And so we could kind of say, okay, if we blow past that, the anchor's moving, which we did not. So moving a little slow this morning. I've already done my system checks, flew the drone for a little bit right at sunrise, and had some breakfast. And now it is time to let the engines warm up, pack the inside away, and get underway.
A little bit more? A little bit more? All right, and drop it again. It's still safe.
Well, we are at our second anchorage, so this is second night. We did about 50 miles today. We averaged about 6.2 knots. So we did about 6.5 knots on average over 7 hours, went just shy of 50 miles. We had to wait for one bridge for about 20 minutes. Other than that, it was pretty much smooth sailing the whole way. Lots of no wake zones through Miami, so just a little more time consuming to get through there. But overall, pretty good day. We did have we did get really lucky going through the first low bridge. As you enter Miami from the south, it's like the fifth bridge. It has a 12-foot clearance. So going through there, we called, went through. Within 5 minutes, there were about 5 or 6 Miami-Dade County Sheriff's Office boats flying towards us with their lights on. I mean, they were, in my opinion, driving a little stupid. I mean, coming from someone who used to work in law enforcement, I don't think that what they were doing looks good to the general public. Some of the passing they did was, in my opinion, unsafe and really just unprofessional. But apparently they're going over to close down the cruise terminal. They closed down that whole area. And so we got so lucky that we just made it by like 5 minutes. I mean, there was a vessel not far behind us, a little crane vessel that we passed when we were first coming into Miami out of Biscayne Bay, I think it is. And I literally heard them call and get denied because the sheriff's office had just shut it down. So we got super lucky there. And then we had to wait for a bridge that only opens at like 15 minutes after and 45 minutes after, which some of the times through Miami is just so goofy. Like the first one you get to opens when you call it. Next one you get to has like very specific hours from 10 to 4 or from 7 to 10 a.m. It's a certain time. Then from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. it's so many openings, and then just like crazy complicated. But anyways, we made it through Miami, and we're actually technically still in Miami. We're on the north side, closer to Lauderdale, I guess this would be. So we're anchoring here. This is a little lake, is what it says on the maps at least. So you can see pretty good size in here. Lots of homes all the way around it. Like some boats that one looks like it's derelict, hasn't been really used in a while. It's hard to tell sometimes with boats if they're just been sitting for a while or abandoned, or you just never really know. But this area says that 4 or 5 boats can fit in here, and we're number 10. So I think plenty of vessels can fit in here. Plan for tonight is to cool off the inside. We did have when we pulled in here, we anchored much faster, much more successful than last night, which is great because it's only our second time anchoring a big boat like this. I've anchored my small boat a bunch, but big boat's a little bit different. But I think tomorrow we're going to have more of a thing when we're getting close to our anchorage, maybe 30 minutes out or an hour away or something like that. I think we're going to fire up the generator and get the air conditioning going. So that way when we stop, the air conditioning, is cooled off the inside, because it gets hot in there during the day we're underway. And so we could run the Genie all day long, but it's like kind of why. And yesterday it was nice and cool. We slept last night, turned off the generator about 8:30. It was 77 this morning when I woke up, which I know some of you think that's hot, but there was a constant sea breeze at that with higher humidity, so it felt nice. Slept great. Today we'll be probably running the generator. All right, see you in the morning.
Up a little bit more. Drop it. I'm just gonna let you see for yourself.
Well, good morning from Hollandale Beach. Pulling up the anchor this morning, found a bunch of fishing line on it. Show you that. Tons of fishing line. And we've also bent the anchor. So this is interesting because that's what we put down to sleep at night. Hopefully it still works. It worked all night last night, so kind of crazy, but that's how it goes. There's like no wind in here. It's been pretty calm. Yeah, and Elise is happy because we picked up some trash.
Yes. As far as I can see. Yep. Okay. I don't see anything and I can see past the bridge. Looks like there's more over there, but this spot looks really good right here. Enough space.
We're gonna cover some miles today. We're doing about 8 knots with the current coming against us. So that's speed over ground. Normally I route this RPM since our trim tabs don't work. I can barely keep it on plane. If I go too fast, we go down. If I go too slow, we come off. So we're like kind of on plane. So this is a sweet spot for us currently. But we got like 50 miles, so we'll be done today. It was an interesting night last night. The anchor, it took us forever to get anchored, so I didn't film because I was exhausted. But hopefully today we'll be wrapping it up.
Oh yeah.
Break.
Yeah.
We made it to our anchorage on day 4. We're doing pretty good. Unfortunately, right as we were coming into the anchorage, when we were going to set the anchor, I realized that the starboard engine did not want to go in reverse when I was trying to, pull it down on the anchor. I put it in gear, it makes a noise, but then the boat doesn't move. So I'm wondering if there's something on the prop. Put it in forward, same thing. So got the goggles. Gonna go out underneath and take a look real quick. Hopefully it's just some debris on the prop and nothing crazy. Obviously we have the port engine still, which is fine. But for maneuvering around without a thruster, it'd be really nice to have both engines, because tomorrow we're hoping to put the boat on the dry dock. So that would be more beneficial for the tight spaces and stuff coming into the marina. Also, reading the comments about this anchorage, apparently one of the locals does not like people anchoring out here, and his boat is called the Doggone Kitty. We actually seen that boat going out as we were coming in. No one said anything to us, but the name was just unusual, so I remembered it. And then when we got here, we read the comments, we're like, oh, okay. So we tried to stay far away from the comments where people are saying the guy lives. Apparently he's put a bunch of boats out here, derelict boats that aren't used or anything, on mooring balls. So he put mooring balls out. He tied up a bunch of boats to try to block people from coming in here, which is kind of wild. And for right now, I'm gonna go jump underneath, take a look. Hopefully it's just some trash or debris, or maybe something simple. We shall see.
You have something blue on your head. It must be the paint.
Yeah, I hit my head on the bottom.
You okay?
So, yeah, I'm fine. Good news, bad news. Good news is we've already figured it out. No, it was nothing on the prop, although it was nice to cool off. You know, it's hot here in Florida, even though it is November. I want to point out that these are the boats that they're talking about. I know it's hard to tell on the GoPro because it's a wide angle lens, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4 boats that he has tied up out here. And apparently from the comments, he lives not this house with the water, but somewhere over here. So apparently he has a power cat, you know, like a more like a center console size boat, but it looks like a catamaran. So hopefully we don't have to have anything to do with that guy. The good news that I had is we've figured it out inside. I'll show you in a second. The other good news is it has nothing to do with this guy, which is so awesome in my opinion, because I don't have to deal with anything like that. You know, if I don't have to, right? I mean, this is kind of crazy that he's doing all this, but not my problem today, right? So, all right, sorry about that. Camera is dying and I needed a flashlight to show you everything. So, V drive is located in our salon. Sorry, we got stuff everywhere. I mean, we just bought the boat and we're moving it, you know, so I brought a bunch of tools. You can see I got bags of tools, and this is a whole big thing of tools. So I try to come prepared. But Elise was pulling up the salon. She went ahead and pulled this up while I was checking out there because she knew that this was the next place we were going to look. And she found the issue pretty quickly. She's already put the bolts in a bag. It's hard to tell by just looking at them, but these threads should be much longer. You can tell these bolts are sheared off. See how they're broken? Now, growing up on a farm, I'm very familiar with parts being sheared. You know, when you're out like mowing the grass or mowing the field with like a bush hog, you'll get pins that shear. And the point of those pins are so they shear and not like the expensive mechanical gearbox. So this right here that I'm looking at is our V drive. So for you Jeep guys or 4x4 enthusiasts, you can think of this as sort of like a differential. Essentially, the drive shaft comes in off the engine, so that goes straight to the engine. It comes into here, and then this is basically like a V, like this. So drive shaft comes in up top, and then on the bottom, there's a shaft that goes out, and it goes through the hole, and that goes directly to the prop. So Elise looked down in here, and she found that big old chunk of metal right there, and that pin was sitting there, and there are a couple bolts over here, and you can see there's even a broken bolt right over there. So she's like, hey, I think you know, this doesn't look right. Maybe it could be spare parts that are just sitting in here, because we do have a plethora of spare parts with this boat. And no, this is it. So luckily it doesn't look too bad. Underneath the bottom right here, you can see there's a gap. So obviously this is supposed to be attached to that, and it's no longer attached. So all those bolts broke off and they need to be reattached. I know it's, you know, not an amazing thing to find, but at least, you know, the gear drive on the back of the engine, I think it's called a velvet drive or something, I can't remember the name of it, or the V drive appear to be good. So it looks like we just sheared some bolts. That's very cheap, and we can just put them back on ourselves. So although we don't have them, so we won't have, this engine will be down for now. In the grand scheme of things, it isn't too big of a deal really. So good news, bad news. It is a little bit worse than I originally thought, but that's okay. I'm just glad that it happened here. Literally, we were in Fort Pierce, so we made it all the way to where we need to go. We just need to go from here over to the marina to pull it out onto the dry dock. So at least it happened here and not, you know, 100 or 200 miles ago. See that big gap? Only this little thin part fits in between that, and those bolts thread into this. So that means all of the bolts that are broken off, they are broken off into the V drive, and that part looks like it might be pressed in or something. I don't know. Hopefully the threads are good. Maybe I'll get lucky and be able to remove them, but in my opinion, just guessing, there are 6 bolts that are broken off into the head of that. You know, it's a marine environment. They're probably going to be some type of rust going on or corrosion of some point. So I know they're probably going to be tough to get out of there. So it's going to be quite the adventure to remove those 6 broken off bolts. And it's like just the tips of them. Looking in here, there's not space behind it, because I was thinking maybe I could just drill it out all the way and then put a nut on the back side, right? So that way in the future, if this was to occur, it'd be something you could fix pretty easily, versus them threading directly into that portion, because they obviously sheared into that. So, but I don't think that's going to be possible. Can never be easy. Pretty sure this clamp is from the 60s. It's from my pawpaw's collection. I got it in there. It's actually, you can see the head is sticking out on this side now. So that bolt is all the way through. And it's holding it all together. Now the main problem is, that's the only bolt that's in there. There's supposed to be 6.